Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reintroducing the Art of Conversation. Delighted to have Tammy Darcy from a fantastic organization called the Shona Project with me. We were just saying offline that I feel like we have met each other 10 times over, but only through the world of digital connection so far. So really looking forward to being a part of the Shona team. Tammy, before I continue, do you pronounce it Shona or Shona?
Shona.
Shona.
Yeah.
I would say it as that, and I've heard it referenced in other ways, but Shona Project it is. We've heard it from the Queen Shona herself, that is Tammy Darcy. Covering all elements, the Shona Project works, their fundamental mission is to inspire girls to become tomorrow's strong, resilient, and confident young women. And not only are we expanding and giving a podium to the phenomenal women that we have across the country, indeed across the European Union. We have leaders in business, in politics, in mental health, in social change, in climate. The list is endless because of the podium that Tammy and her team ensures that young people, particularly girls, get to stand on. Covering a number of different issues such as anxiety and depression, bullying, body image, school stress, family difficulties, relationships, and that ever-growing and challenging space of equality. They provide information, access to positive female role models, which we all need every day, all day, and a place to share their lived experiences. A couple of big awards that have come into Tammy and the team are Social Entrepreneurs Ireland awardees in 2017, Social Innovation Fund Ireland awardees in 2018, Best Social Community Enterprise Waterford Business Awards in 2018, finalist Best Business Blog with the Irish Blog Awards, Image Magazine Business Woman of the Year finalist, which is not an easy list to get on. So Cocordicus to you, Tammy. CEO of the Year Irish Women's Award in 2018 also. And the list is endless, and something that I'm very, very excited about and have been championing with them is their impact on social media and through their website. Phenomenal resources, and not just for young girls, but for dare I say, a little bit more, whether it be platonic or real grey hair in my head. I use it as a reference quite a lot before I go into schools, because one of their bedrocks and one of their foundation pieces that they offer also to young girls is workshops in schools. But I'm going to park all of my little words and hear from Tammy herself. Tammy, is there any part of that I did not highlight enough of the empowering work that you all do?
I think you did a pretty good job. I think I can just leave now because you've got most of it covered. And you did a really good job. I suppose one of the highlights of what we do would be Shine Festival, and I would have to mention Shine Festival, which is a celebration of everything that it means to be a girl in Ireland, which has grown from 350 attendees in 2018 to 40,000 last year, and that's kind of definitely one of the jewels in the Shona crown. But yeah, no, that was a great introduction. So happy to tell you as much as I can about our work.
Yeah, tell me, where did the project start from? Like, where was
I really need to work on the answer to this because it's hard to find an exact starting point. I mean, it's really inspired by my own teenage years, which were just not fun at all for me. There was just so many challenges that I had to deal with. And looking back, I can remember, when I was 10 or 11, I was one of those kids that was like, I'm going to be president. I'm going to play soccer for Ireland. I'm going to have a record deal. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be all of these things with not a doubt in my mind that I was going to achieve them. But by the time I was 18, I was just a shadow, an absolute shadow of that girl. I was living on my own since I was 16, single parent at 18, and like no confidence, self-esteem, or faith in the world. And a big reason for that would have been the illness of my sister Shona. So when I was in second year and she was in third year, she was diagnosed with a brain injury, and she's lived in full-time nursing care ever since. And that was the effect that had on our entire family, but me specifically, because it was only in the last, 10 years that I realized that I went through grief without knowing I was going through grief, because she didn't pass away, but she was gone from my life. And we had a loss of this amazing life that we should have had together, her being my bridesmaid, me having nieces and nephews, all of those important things that when you have a sister, bitching about your parents, all of those things that are so important, and then it was just gone all of a sudden. So that's why I called the project after her, because she was the good one. She was the one who was just really kind and considerate, and wanted to work with babies and animals, and very, very caring. And I was the dramatic one. I was the one who always got into trouble. So that's really the inspiration behind it. I guess where the project started, though, was that in later life, I coach girls soccer. I'm a huge believer of girls in sport, and all of the opportunities that are there when they get involved in sport. And I started seeing so many girls turn up for training every week, and I could just see they were struggling. And I could see that for many of them, me as a coach and all us other coaches were in some cases the only role models that they had, and that soccer was the only outlet that they had, and the only time where they were encouraged. And I just thought there should be an organization that does this for girls, whether they're interested in sport or not. And I went out and just I did a course on bullying. I just investigated and learned as much as I could, probably for about 3 years before I even mentioned it to my husband. Because when you go down this route, you expose yourself, and you push yourself so far out of your comfort zone. And then I started doing workshops kind of every couple of weeks, and refining them and working on them, and then developing a strategy in my mind. And I went off and did a master's in social enterprise. So I launched the website from my kitchen table in 2016, but kept my full-time job for a couple of years. And it's only really in the last 3 or 4 years that we've turned into the national organization that we are, and I've been able to go into it full time and develop a team around me. But every year it just grows and grows and grows, and I'm just here for the ride at this stage.
Amazing. But I think to your point, the why is so strong, of where the project came from, and who the project is based has sprungboard from, or has been the catalyst from. So thank you very much for sharing that. I think within my world of politics, we often forget that point. And even in some businesses, we forget the why. And to hear, Shona and her lived experiences and your lived experiences from it is phenomenal. So thank you for that. I would love to hear more about the workshops specifically that you run in schools. And this is a shout out to any teachers, parents, guardians, or caretakers within the community who might be watching this, just to understand what it is you deliver, how you deliver it, and the impact and the legacy you leave for the young women that hear it.
Yeah, so the workshop is kind of our main product or service, I suppose, if you want to speak in business terms. And everything else grew from that. So what we do is we go into schools, we work with anything from 10 to 100 girls at a time. We do them for mixed groups as well, but it just works really well with girls, because there's a culture that exists within schools, and sometimes there could be a huge amount of tension, trauma, historic issues that go back since junior infants, And what we're trying to do is create a positive culture in schools and empower all of the girls together to make a change and start afresh, rather than picking out one person or one issue. And that's the main thing, because what we'd love to do is make sure that any girl who goes into school, no matter what she's dealing with at home, knows that the other girls will have her back and respect her and support her no matter what. So that's the main thing that we're trying to achieve. But in terms of the workshop, so at first we talk, you have to warm up to that. You have to build trust. So we talk a bit about, what are the challenges of being a young girl in Ireland today? Don't we all share them? Can't we all identify? Then we talk a bit about how we're influenced. So the people that you surround yourselves with, and how you will become effectively a soup of those people, you know, when you become a woman, and how important it is to make sure that those people are the right people for you. Then we move into how we treat each other. So, you know, I share my own experience of being bullied in school, and we talk about the effect that it had on us. But what we do is we don't do it in a blamey way. So we say, one of the most powerful things that I do is I get all the girls to stand up, and I say, sit down if you've ever been negatively affected by something another girl has said or done. And every single girl will sit down. And then we stand up again, and I say, right, let's get real here. Sit down if you've ever said or done anything that might have affected another girl. And again, every girl sits down. And that's really powerful, because we're not pointing fingers, we're taking responsibility for ourselves. And then we ask all the girls to write down, you know, something that they want to get off their chest that they might have done or might want to apologize for, or something that they promised to do differently. And then we read them out together. And they are so powerful. It's such a privilege to hear those, because a lot of adults can't do that. You know, a lot of adults can't take responsibility for their own behavior. And then we end up talking about like how we approach challenges. So we share some like mind hacks that I use that help me to stay positive, and how they can apply what we've kind of learned and agreed on in their own lives in different ways. We talk a little bit about goal setting. And then what happens is you've had these girls for an hour and a half, right? And you've potentially created huge change. And the testimonials and evaluations from those are, you know, so positive. But we want to keep that going, you know, because over time, other influences start to come back in again. So that's why we built the handbook, which we give to first year girls. That's why we built the online community. That's why we're so active on social media, because that's where they live. And then developed it into Shine Festival. And I'd love to eventually build something to prepare girls from that transition from sixth year into college or into employment, you know, which is a very stressful time as well. So we wanted to start more than just a workshop offering. We wanted to start a movement, and we always had that big picture in mind, and that's what it has become, I have to say.
It's phenomenal just to hear the conversation that it feeds off into, and as you rightly pointed out, the seed that gets planted and the opportunity it is to expand and excel. That's phenomenal. And the fact that you are essentially hand holding, but in the most supportive way, as you all as girls transition in from one. I mean, essentially, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, shit, I wish I had that when I was going into presentation college Headford, because of just the inner conversations and the external conversations, and how damaging both can be, but often the internal ones can really facilitate a lifelong journey that is unnecessary if you can just have support and resources at hand to kind of put you back on track.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. I built what I needed that I didn't have. And I think when you're approaching this, there's so many different approaches, and that's what we do really well. Is it's such a nuanced thing to connect. You've got an hour and a half, you have to connect with those girls, right? You have to show them that they can trust you. And there's so many factors that come into that. If you were too teachery or too mental healthy or too businessy or too, you know, you have to go to where they are and speak in their language. And that comes down to like your body language, how you dress. Also, that you have to bring yourself to the situation. You have to show yourself and share your own experience. Because I mean, I learn a lot more from people who've lived things than have read things, you know, in every respect of my life. And I think that's what we do really, really well. Even if you look at our social media, we're with them. We've gone through it with them, and we listen as much as we speak. And I think we could have gotten that so wrong so easily. And we don't. We work very hard to get it right.
Can I just before, because I really want to hear about Shine more, and essentially any listeners who want to support, facilitate, and attend. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about the informal and the formal setting of education that we have in Ireland and across Europe. Some countries do it really, really well. In Finland, they started bringing in, out of a pilot project, they started bringing in vulnerability language from quite a young age. And therefore, you know, young men and women, boys and girls had understanding to share openly and honestly what they're feeling. And they're have a care or a need met openly and safely. Do you foresee and the big bad conversation of should the CAO be rejigged, should the leaving cert be rejigged, and junior cert and all that? I am for that, to be honest with you, but I'd love to hear your perspective of the Shona Project to see what it is young people are asking, particularly girls, because disproportionately the way our education is affects young women and excels the other gender, and hence the reason why we don't have across all sectors, not just politics or business, we do not have the 50-50 percentage, I believe, of equality shared. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, whether we throw out the rule book and really make it a different experience.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes to that. Like there's and actually going into different schools every day gives me real good insight as to the different approaches. Like there's some amazing schools. I've walked into some schools, and even the way the students stand up and the way they engage in workshops, and their voices have obviously been valued because they feel that they can use their voices. Like there's so many differences, and there's a huge spectrum in terms of approaches, but definitely in general, like this rote recollection of information and being measured and our worth, because that is how their worth is valued at that age. You know, that's what we measure. Really just isolates so many young people who are creative or who are born leaders or who, you know, have these amazing skills that they're basically being shown are not as important as the other ones. Like I have 3 kids. One of them, my daughter, has dyslexia and she has really struggled in school, but she's one of the smartest people I know. In terms of cop on and as I said, leadership, she's excelled at sports, but as far as in school goes, she's struggling to keep up. And I think that message that we're sending her is detrimental to her and to others like her. So if you're not one kind of learner, you're left behind. I also think that the atmosphere in schools, I've walked from class to class on my way to do workshops, and I've heard teachers tell a child off because the tie is crooked or something like that, and I've seen those children flinch because, and I can see, like maybe the teacher doesn't see that flinch because she's got 100 other things to deal with, but I see the flinch, and I could see that child just getting to school that morning was an effort. And then to have, you know, some little thing like that, like it can just, again, just destroy their confidence. And the teachers that I talk to, like I've met, like these teachers have been tested, and I've met some amazing teachers, especially in the last 2 years, who have said to me, how can I teach these children algebra the way things are at the moment? They're just trying to survive. Like if their mental health is in the bin and they're stressed and they see that the world is burning, maths is not their priority right now. They're in survival mode. And that's the way I was in school, where I was just trying to get through the day. I was being bullied. I had a knot in my stomach every day going to school because of being bullied. And that's a huge challenge. So I don't know what the answers are, Maria. I'm just telling you what I observe. But I think we need to give kids an opportunity to develop all of those skills, competencies, intelligences that they have, and focus on what they're good at and what their potential is, rather than trying to mold them into something else.
Absolutely. You know? And to your point, I mean, we do through Blue Schools programs or the European Ambassador Schools program with European Movement Ireland, you know, like that, or from my retired Rosa Tralee days, going in and out of schools, you do see the weighted cloud over some, be it talking about mental health or like sexual orientation, or just showing up that day and coming from perhaps a really challenging household. And yeah, and not and some come to school to get away, some come to schools to survive, and regurgitating on what's on a page and getting merit from that is not learning. It's just having a really good memory. not necessarily living through what education is. And in the Parliament, we often, one of the buzzwords from the get-go, or the terms, were lifelong learning. And to your point earlier around supporting young women and girls through various stages, that is lifelong learning. You never stop learning. And as women, then you see us in boxes, or being put in boxes, or putting ourselves in them. And to break that spell begins, and I really think begins within the first elements of education, in all its forms. Before I go on a serious TEDx rant there, I'll scale back. I could talk to you about that for ages. But all things Shine Festival. Tell me all. How can we help out? What's the upcoming, hopefully post-COVID 2022 one shaping out to be, and where can we learn more?
So I'm really excited about this, because Shine Festival is just the most joyous thing that has ever happened in Ireland. So again, in 2018, we brought 350 girls together in a library room in County Waterford, and we had 5 speakers. And then we grew that to 1,000 girls in 2019. And then in 2020, we were to have 4 conferences or festivals in the 4 different regions. Obviously, they were cancelled, so we brought together our partners, which are the 4 regional youth stations, and said, let's bring it online. And what we did was we built a festival site. We invited 100 speakers, hoping that maybe 40 would say yes, and the majority said yes. And we had speakers like Vicky Phelan, Laura Whitmore, Angela Scanlon, businesswomen, sportswomen, mental health professionals. You're not getting away from us this year, Maria. We'll have to make sure that you're around now that I have you. But they were all authentic speakers who just, were real and were vulnerable and brought their whole selves to the conversations. And with very little budget, we invited a few schools, and we had over 200 schools and 40,000 girls attend Shine Festival last year, which was like, we were literally just sitting at home watching the numbers go up, and the video loads were going up and up.
Shit, what do we do?
Yeah, exactly. I was the whole week before, I was like, it's going to crash, and then it didn't crash. But when the video loads went over 1 million on the 3rd day, I was just, I had to go and lie down. It was just too much. And then to hear the conversations that it was starting in schools all over Ireland about so many different things, about diversity, sustainability, LGBT, mental health, body image, career, all of the conversations that these girls should be having. So we decided this year to go bigger again, and we've partnered with Sport Ireland. So we're going into the National Sports Arena in Dublin. We're going to bring, I think, around 4,000 in person over 2 days. And then we're inviting schools all over Ireland to have mini festivals in their sports halls as well, and to turn it into a whole school event where they can bring all the girls together. So we had our first planning meeting this morning. We've an amazing team, and they just want to get it done. They're problem solvers, they're enthusiastic. And this year we're reclaiming October the 11th, which is International Day of the Girl, and that will forever be Shine Festival day or week at the Shona Project. So we're getting started on that now, and we're hoping to build it over the next couple of months. And it's very exciting.
That's super exciting. That is escalation in its bestest form. That's phenomenal. Yeah. Is there anything, bar keeping an eye on the website, seeing its developments? Shout out to any potential corporates or policymakers like myself who need to dig in and figure out some supportive measures, not just sharing lived experiences, but also some capital. Because I think when you have an amazing I don't know if asset's the right word, but when you have an amazing movement of change, we need to roll in behind and get supportive. So I will cheekily add, I need to do my homework and see what I can do in terms of funding. But any corporates watching this, or any other policymakers, or
as I said, like, we can't charge the girls that we work with. That's never going to be our model, because we want to reach the ones that need it the most, not just the ones that can afford it or whose parents are invested in them in the right way. So that's never going to happen. So we need government funding, we need corporate partners, we need philanthropic partners, and that's a huge challenge for us. But we're doing the best that we can, because it's exactly as you said, we've built a movement now, and there's an appetite for it. We've proven, we have loads of projects even that we've piloted that we just don't have the resources to roll out, like our primary school program, like we've got loads of other ones that I won't go into now. And we just don't have the resources, and it's been built. So now it's just a case of, please get behind us and help us to deliver it. And, we really want to work with partners that their values match ours, but that can also volunteer time and mentoring and, really be partners in creating it, as opposed to just writing the checks, which are important. But we're starting a movement, and we want people to get behind it as much as we can.
Couldn't have said it more eloquently than Tammy you just did. What is you touched on over the course of our 20 odd minute conversation, you touched on various aspects of the Shona Project growing forth. What is it? What's perhaps the one or two things that you're like, right, in 10 years time, this is what it will look like?
I'll tell you exactly what it's going to look like, because I can see it in my mind.
I love it. No BS. I love it.
First of all, we need a Shona for boys more than ever before. In the same way that the Shona Project now currently challenges, what does it mean to be a woman, and what does that look like, and what do we value about our women? Our boys really need support now more than ever, to be shown to be authentic and vulnerable and kind, and how to channel anger and sadness and aggression in a positive way, how to treat women, how to treat each other, and how to take care of themselves. So where I see us going, and this is going to be a huge challenge, but I think I can see the Shona Project being an umbrella organization and having a boys and a girls arm. And I get asked the question a lot about gender, and I do absolutely respect that gender is a spectrum, and that we have to acknowledge that, and there's a place there for anybody who wants to be a part of it. But in general, we move through the world quite differently, right? So we're influenced differently, we're treated differently. Like, that's just the reality of it. And I think that two targeted organizations that are working together, because I think even the symbolism of seeing that these organizations are working as a partnership would be very, very important. And that we can go into schools and we can take the boys and the girls and everybody in between who wants to join whichever group they want to, or even have another group, I don't know. But since day one, since I was sitting at my kitchen table, I'd heard a few years ago about this organization in Dubai. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the go-to organization for young people in Ireland. In Dubai, every young person engages with it. They're like, when government are creating policy, they engage with them, and they use it as a channel to give voices to young people as well. And we already have 50 ambassadors here, one of which actually, Katie, who has done.
Katie Glowing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Katie's a legend, and that their voices are being amplified, because they should be teaching us and they should be guiding policy at this stage. So that's kind of my vision, and I'm a lot further towards it than I ever thought I would be, but now I'm getting cocky, I think I could actually do this.
No, I mean, well, I wouldn't use even the word cocky. You see the need for it, and you have a formula that works, and,
exactly.
And because you've already done it. So phenomenal to hear, because you're right. In the day job, I hear equality, and you hear, in order to change it, we need more women at the table. But fundamentally, in order to change it, we need all voices at the table. Otherwise, nothing changes. So to your point on a boys' version of the Shona Project, absolutely, because we have history to break, we have legacy to break, we have bad experiences to break, we have the rise of pornography, other mass medias, where an emotion that's tied to being a certain type based off your gender, and breaking that down and distilling that is exceptionally important for generations of all changes. And yeah, I love that. I mean, already a champion. Just love to figure out how and where I can help. But in the previous question, you gave me my marching orders of what I need to do, Tammy. So I hear you loud and clear. Finally, just wrapping up and making sure we're covering everything. Where obviously the Shona Project online. We can find you. Shine Festival coming in and rightly placed in October. Any schools or organizations willing and wanting to help out or learn from the Shona Project, Tammy is your person. Is there anything I am not asking you that you want asked and you want shared to the Instagram audience?
Yeah, I know. I think you've done a good job. I think, we're just really passionate about what we do. We get to go into the classrooms and see the impact, and that's, that, to be honest, it's addictive, when you see that, because like you don't know where you've been on that girl's path and where she could go this way instead of this way, and then how she can become, a strong, independent woman, and then maybe she'll have kids, or maybe she won't, or maybe she'll bring up, the next generation of leaders and change makers. Like, this is the time. And as you said, one thing I do want to mention is that women can only do so much to achieve equality. We definitely need more men involved in this conversation. There's not enough men getting behind it, and we're very welcome and open to all of those kinds of people. Our website is just shona.ie. We're very, very busy on social as well. We've built a whole really, really engaged community online too. That's quite fabulous too. And we have a whole team who did that too. So look, we'll be announcing everything that's coming up with Shine in the next couple of months, but we're working hard, and we hope you can be there, Maria, next year. Put it in your diary and make sure to come and join us. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Only delighted to. Big champions. Katie McGloin, a dear friend of mine, had educated me for about the Shona Project, and the experiences she gained and the confidence she gained because of it. So it was an instant seller to me. But delighted to chat to you, Tammy. Thank you very much for gifting the time. Super excited to see the coming months, if not the coming years, and the fact that you see the movement, you're hearing the movement, you're a part of the movement. Hell, you even curated the movement, and now it's the rest of us to open up to listen, learn, and start supporting more and more. So thank you very, very much for your time.
Thanks. Anytime, Maria.